ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show with no name. I'm your host, Devar Terrell, here today as always with my co-host, Nathan James. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm doing fine. How was your holidays?
It was good. Spent a lot of time with the family. What did you do?
Just got presents, ate a lot of food,
Yeah.
basic Christmas stuff. Alright, that's good to hear, and I hope you guys at home had a splendid holiday as well. I'm surely glad to be back in the new year for another season. So for those who are new, welcome to the family first of all. But how we run this show is that we take suggestions from the audience about subjects that involve literature, stuff like Shakespeare, Frankenstein, stuff like that. And basically, so our topic today is Hamlet, and more specifically, the character Hamlet and his madness. Before we get into it, let's go over to our sponsors for today, Audible. So Audible is an online service that provides audiobooks that you can listen to. They have a vast variety of genres to pick from romance to mystery. You can basically find anything you want there. It's basically where I listen to the Hamlet book to refresh my memory on the play. So I personally recommend it to you guys. So go on over to audible.com, use the code NONAME for 30% off on your monthly service. And without further ado, let's get into it. So Nathan, can you give us a brief overview of the Hamlet book?
So the play Hamlet revolves around the protagonist named Hamlet. And Hamlet's basically facing lots of tragedies at the moment. His father just died, King Hamlet, and he was murdered by his power-hungry brother, Claudius. And on top of that, Hamlet can't even cope with the death of his father because his mother, Gertrude, she remarried to Claudius. And then during all these events, Hamlet starts to act like a madman. And that kind of goes into our topic that we're going to be discussing today, is that if Hamlet is truly a madman, or was he just pretending to be one, for a greater purpose or scheme?
So to start this off, I asked you, I asked you, do you think he's actually mad, or do you think he's pretending to be mad? Because personally, I think he's actually mad.
Yeah, I feel like the evidence points towards that, he is kind of pretending to be mad, because in Act 3, Scene 1, line 8, Guildenstern pretty much describes Hamlet's madness as crafty madness. So pretty much he's talking about he's faking this for some purpose, to fool others.
I personally think that Hamlet has become mad or is mad because in Act 1, Scene 4, line 68, Horatio says to Hamlet that what if it tempts you towards the flood, my lord, or is it dreadful summit of the cliff that beetles towards his base into the sea, and there assumes some other horrible form which might deprive your sorority of reason and draw you into madness. So this is a good example of foreshadowing because he saw the ghost, and there's a big debate, there's a big topic on whether is the ghost real, is he hallucinating and stuff like that, because although the guards did see the ghost, come across the ghost, they're not really relevant characters, they're not really main characters, I would say. They don't really come back in the story. And when he was speaking to the ghost while he was with Gertrude, his mother, the queen, she wasn't able to see the ghost, so that's where it kind of brings up questions is he hallucinating? Are these other characters that experience it, are they right in the mind as well?
We don't know that for sure though, but what we do know is that some people can see through his kind of act, right, and kind of see that he's faking his madness. So in Act 3, Scene 1, lines 165 to 167, Claudius says that although strange, do not appear to stem from madness. So pretty much he demonstrates that not everyone's fooled, and some people are starting to wise up and see what's going on over here, start to see that he's trying to fake his madness.
I think Polonio catches wind of Hamlet adopting this mad. Maybe he thinks it's because of his interactions with Ophelia, which he is basically the fault for. He's the one who told Ophelia to ignore him. So in Act 2, Scene 2, line 207, Polonius says that through this be madness, yet there is a method in it. So if Polonius can figure this out, then there must be ground to it.
Yeah, so basically also on the topic of Polonius, right? So in Act 3, Scene 4, Hamlet goes completely, he completely loses all sanity, right? Because, basically, a summary of this is that, his mother becomes scared of Hamlet, right? And she's afraid that he might hurt her, right? And, she's afraid that he might hurt her. And then she cries for help. And then Polonius responds to the cry of Gertrude, and without a second thought, Hamlet stabs Polonius through the sheet, and which ends up killing him, thinking it was Claudius. So now we can go check. Now we can kind of compare and contrast this to the start of the story and to the end of the story. So in the start of the story, Hamlet was just sad and frustrated with all his misfortunes, and then to this point of the story, right, Hamlet is just now bloodthirsty for Claudius, and this could be summed up as all the tragedies are kind of to blame for his psychological instability.
Basically, I'd say that he got consumed by this thirst for revenge. He wanted to avenge his father.
Yeah.
When he found out that Claudius was the one who murdered his father, he was very adamant on seeking revenge. How can he be the son of King Hamlet and not seek revenge for his father's killer, right?
Yeah.
That's why he got inspired by the leader of Fortinbras, right?
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I think that he developed and became mad later on in the story.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the story, I don't think he was mad, but as the events go on, he did become mad. So for that, with his duel against Laertes in Act 5, Scene 2, and in line 139, he says that when he killed Polonius, it was out of madness, and that he can't really take responsibility for it because it wasn't him who performed the act. So there could be a couple ways that you can look at this. Hamlet was temporarily mad for that instant when he killed Polonius because he thought it was Claudius. Or Hamlet wants to fool himself into believing that he's not wrong because he can't take responsibility for Polonius' death because it wasn't him at that moment. It was his anger. It was a different side of him. It was a different him, maybe his mad form or whatever that tempted him to do these actions. So maybe he's contrasting against how he wasn't in the right state of mind during these interactions, during these events.
Yeah, basically, pretty much, Polonius, right? My fault, Claudius, right? Everyone kind of noticed that, towards the start of the play that he wasn't mad. So I think you're right. So, he kind of developed his madness as the play goes on. So, he kind of, he was, in character of pretending to be mad so much that he actually became mad. So he pretty much, essentially to say, he faked it to make it.
Because how method actors, they adopt the persona of the character and they basically become the character. They're so consumed that they start living the life of the character.
Yeah.
That's what I think that happened to Hamlet. He was so involved in pretending to be mad that he eventually became mad. And another chime in is that all these events, all these depressing, these disastrous events that happened to him, could have drove him to this madness. We can see this in a glimpse of Ophelia, who basically has the same turn of events as him. Ophelia was rejected by Hamlet. Her brother wasn't there at the current moment. Her father was killed and stuff like that. There's a lot of events that led to Ophelia's madness and her killing herself, drowning. How all these events that happened to Hamlet, his father, his mother and his uncle, all this stuff, everybody bothering him, concerning themselves with him, it could have eventually drove him to, insanity or madness.
Yeah. So basically, in Act 3, Scene 1, line 8, right? It says, Hamlet says that I essentially am not in madness, but mad in craft. So basically, this quote explains that even though he's actually not mad, right? Some may consider the plot of him faking his madness is something only a madman would do.
Because how you said how he's mad in craft. Craft is another word for build or make, right? So he's making himself or becoming mad at himself because personally I was asking why would you pretend to be mad? That's only a mad person would pretend to be mad. Why would you pretend to be something that you're not?
Yeah, so exactly. He's almost delusional, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I guess that was like his plot, and then like he was like too deep into the plot, and then that's what happened.
But I think, well, you know, he is a tragic hero. I think that's what led to his downfall as well, because, you know, because of these events, because he pretended to be bad, that's why Laertes came, wanted to duel him. That's why the king wanted to kill him with the poison. You know, they made this whole plan and stuff like that. You know, that's how it resulted in, you know, everyone basically dying in the end.
Yeah, so, he wasn't aware that his madness would take him as far as it took him.
Yeah.
You know, his thing. So in conclusion, we would just say that Hamlet's madness was pretty much developed over time. It started off like as like, you know, just like as like a plot.
A persona, yeah.
Yeah, as like a persona, and now it just actually became like a real thing.
Yeah, so today Nathan and I went over Hamlet's madness. You know, he was maybe acting at the beginning, and then developed into actual madness, actually becoming crazy, and you know, all the factors that could have possibly contributed towards this outcome. Once again, big thanks to our sponsors over at audible.com. Use the code NONAME at checkout for 30% off your monthly order. You guys can check us out on our SoundCloud link, www.soundcloud.com/the No Name Show, where we'll be posting future podcasts, and you can go view previous podcasts. And once again, thank you guys for returning in the new year to listen to our podcast. And until we see you again next week, ciao for now.